Welcome to the Ultimate Fantasy Locker Room, starring Rocky DiStefano, Bill Pasquale, Delano Williams, and Mark Mullen, with featured guest, former NFL pro Antone Davis. Fantasy football, real results.
All right. Well, welcome to another edition of the Ultimate Fantasy Locker Room, and got a little bit of different look here because we've got our friend from Wawa in Upper Delaware.
The Big Bird.
The Big Bird. I don't know what that means.
The Eagle.
Antone, welcome, and tell us why you're down here again.
Thank you, man.
We only get them every once in a while, so.
Well, it's good to be back, and it's it's spring break, so it's
So you're beaching it.
I can you not tell? I've been working on it. I pay a lot of money for this.
Yeah. What I was wondering is, no, I'm not going to ask what kind of swimsuit you wear, because that seemed like it went weird real quick.
Yeah.
But
The Speedos are out.
well,
so.
yeah, but I mean, you're European. It's a big deal. So
More traditional now.
yeah. All right. So how about you guys? What's up with you guys? Well, how was your week?
Man, it's been an interesting week.
Yeah, I agree.
To say the least.
Yeah. I agree.
Not a lot going on in the football world outside of Deshaun Watson, but I mean, I don't know. We could hold off on that a little bit, but
Do you need anything else going on though? How much is going on with Deshaun Watson?
So what is your take? You got and Antone, you've been in an NFL locker room.
who's first? You.
Oh, it don't matter. You go.
Yeah, so I mean, it's to me when I see a situation like this, it's unfortunate on a number of levels. I mean, it's because and the biggest issue with a scenario like this, you don't have all the facts.
That's right.
You don't know what the truth is.
Absolutely.
Sadly, though, anytime your name is mentioned in any kind of environment like this, it's never good for the player, and certainly it was not good for any potential victim. So it's terrible all the way around.
Well, and he's guilty, even if he's not guilty, because his name is out there, and
It's just associated with something now.
Right,
Very
which is
negative.
sad.
Even if he comes out scot clean, it's still,
Yeah. yeah.
people are going to doubt. Oh, it was a cover up because he's an NFL player, or there's going to be doubters. So he's tarnished. The name is tarnished no matter what now. And it's unfortunate.
Well, and I know you were kind of like, hey, we got to see what happens.
Yeah.
We got to see, he could still be innocent. I kind of lean toward there's a mass, like when you have so many people that it does seem like at least one time something happened.
Right.
And maybe there's a bunch of people that are jumping on looking for money, but
It's crazy because I think 22 people have come out against him, and then he's got 18 to his defense. And I've maybe been to like 5 different masseuses in my life. How do you accumulate 40 masseuses
okay,
over the?
can I ask how many
over the span of
masseuses?
4
he's
years?
been to
Well,
5.
I mean, I can explain that pretty
How many
easily.
have you been? How many masseuses have you been to in your life?
I could count it on probably one hand.
Okay, so less than 5.
Throughout my career, I would say 10 to 20 throughout my entire career.
Yeah, so I'm 0. I'm dragging the average down. Never been to a masseuse.
Well, I think the thing with Watson, the difference is obviously he has the means. He's traveling a lot more, and it's very easy for. Like, I don't go all the time because it's something that I don't fit into my budget.
Right.
It's just it's like a luxury for him. It's probably a luxury that he can afford. But I will say, last week I am still there where we got to see what happens. But yesterday I heard the testimony of the first
Victim.
Yeah, the first victim. And just hearing her speak, it kind of changed my perspective a little bit. She didn't seem, I'm no judge, but she didn't seem like she was lying. It seemed genuine, and it kind of changed the way I was thinking about it a little bit. And it could be as simple as, it's something he's tried before. He's gotten away with a few times.
Right.
And then maybe he's tried it a few times with other women and was able to, apologize and say, no big deal, and just give him a big tip or something. And then, now it's cropping back up. I mean, it could really be anything.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be, the bad part is that there probably is at least one victim, and then there's also him who's getting scrutinized in public. But I think that also comes with the job.
Well, and I think, I remember you telling me a story once of what a Monday morning was like for you after a football game.
Right.
And how it took you like 45 minutes to get out of bed because you've been hit by a truck.
Right.
So I see why he gets so many massages. That doesn't raise
Right.
any red flags to me. And I do think that in some ways, Houston kind of let him down too, because I feel like they should have been there to kind of make sure that the massages were done in the right place, in a protected space. This is like,
I can't believe they didn't have a designated person for
I'm
it.
sure they
with
did.
Such a high profile guy.
Yeah. I mean, he's just your franchise.
Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying. Like they could have, and he was just like, well, screw this. You don't own me. I'm going to do whatever I want.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, in the thought of hoping that, he's not, this serial sex offender, you would hope that like he's not thinking like, hey, well, let me go out there and see if I can try this with every single person. I mean, you hope that this guy's innocent, right? Like, I mean,
You do,
Nobody wishes this on anybody. I hope for his victims. I hope he didn't have 22 victims for crying out.
Well, and like I said too, the numbers can be deceiving because it would not be unusual to get 1 or 2 massages a week,
Right.
During the season, because
Right.
that's when you're playing, that's when you're feeling the most pain, and you want to get yourself ready for the next week. So
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
somebody
he was
to say,
getting hit a
he
bunch.
had 5 different masseuses in a month. Well,
That's
could
nothing.
be the same shop. It could have been different representatives coming from the same shop.
Yeah.
So the numbers don't always tell the entire story. However,
Well,
when
and you know the thing too, that the terrible thing is, listen, we live in a small city. There are massage parlors that I know about that offer services
Yeah.
that are not typically offered in a massage.
It's called a happy ending.
So, how many of these got
You know an awful lot about this for someone who's had 0 massages.
Well,
I just
well,
want
I
to
was
throw
just
that out
gonna
there.
I mean,
well, I was just going to say, so I
Maybe
mean,
there's a reason.
and I will say this.
Define
I
massage.
said I've probably had 20 different massages. Half of those have probably been along with my wife in
Yeah.
the same spa
Right.
or something like that. Now, if you're telling me these were all massage parlors, if you will, I would probably go, that's interesting.
That makes
Well,
sense.
but-
And as opposed to Mark, who goes to male only massage bar.
so
Dude, I don't discriminate. You got strong hands, and you can.
Well, you discriminate against the woman. You just go to the all
let me
male.
tell you
ones.
what, that's why I have not had a massage, because there hasn't been a robot
Yeah,
yet
I don't
invented.
understand your thought process on this. It doesn't make sense. but
Okay,
that's-
I understand I'm odd. I don't want a man to touch me.
It's okay.
I don't want a woman. I don't want an attractive woman to
you
touch me.
can't control yourself.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
And I know that, so I'm not frequenting. So I need a robot, like a robot masseuse.
Or an unattractive woman.
That would be good.
Even an
You just don't wanna
unattractive
say
woman in the right,
in the right
wrong
light,
time.
the right lighting.
The right time or the wrong?
Anyways,
You should stop talking.
you know what's sad though is like, I kind of felt like this was, Deshaun was going to get traded to a better team. I do think Houston's kind of done him wrong. They never protected him on the line.
Yeah.
Traded away his targets.
Well, they did trade for a left tackle.
They did, but they also gave away DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
And they've made some moves that I just feel like you don't make if you're trying to win. So I felt like he was about to be traded.
Yeah.
And then he isn't.
No.
And now Darnold went to Carolina,
Yeah.
which is who was pursuing Watson. And I feel like they didn't make that trade because of this, whether it's true or not.
Sure.
Right, which is a good point. And I mean, when somebody's in the midst of a scandal like this, nobody's going to take that on because you don't know
Just
you don't know
sad.
what the league is going to hand down in suspension. There's just way too many question marks.
Yeah.
And back to the point of Houston not really giving him an opportunity to succeed. I think that that falls on the GM obviously, and their thought process there was, we can get rid of Hopkins and bring in at least a running back that's going to be dependable, pass protection. Also, he'll go out and he'll catch a ball, and thinking that they can replace that with the combination of he and Cooks. And it didn't pan out because Cooks is not the Cooks when he first came into the league.
Yeah.
Will Fuller's still a question mark because, he just can't seem to keep himself clean.
Yeah.
There's just a lot going on in that organization I wouldn't want to be a part of either.
But speaking of clean, and I think we can all attest, there's been no smoke. He was such a clean player in college.
Yeah.
You never heard anything in high
I was just
school.
getting ready to say that. The timing doesn't really make sense to me. And then
Right.
also the fact that you have a person who seems to have lived a pretty clean and normal
Yeah.
life
Yep.
for the most part.
Yep.
It would be shocking to learn that they just completely went off the deep end without any previous smoke, as you call it.
Yeah. Or he was just amazingly good at hiding
Right.
this, because you would have thought this magnitude it would have come out.
Well, I'll put a bow on it. I think what I heard yesterday is the victim said that this happened in March of last year, or right around when COVID started. That may be an indication of maybe why he started doing this or
Maybe
got into
he had it
it
at the house because he couldn't go to the
Yeah,
bar.
maybe. Yeah,
Maybe
so that's something. But then on the other hand, they're also, it's being called assault, but assault could be defined many ways. So what I was hearing is just, him making suggestions or asking for certain services, which would be considered assault. So doesn't necessarily mean he forced himself on any of them. I'm not saying he didn't, but the language is kind of just.
Well, I don't think those are the charges, right? The charges are exposed himself.
It's assault.
Yeah. But I'm saying like that.
Yeah, all those things fall under assault.
I mean, let's face it. We live in a different world now. I mean, it must be. It's tough to be. I would think even a single guy out there, and just the dating scene alone. I mean, if you were to hold any one of us to the standards that they hold people to today, we've all done some questionable shit to hit on a girl at some point in our life. I'm sure. Yeah. It's just it's crazy. You can't even even if it was like you said, it can just be suggestive and it's considered assault. I mean, even just the trying to be slightly flirty aggressive can be taken or misconstrued as
the only
assault.
issue here would be is that if it was with 22 different women, then it's probably an issue.
It's a serial.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you know who you are, and you know your impact, and you know your influence, and you just have to be more vigilant about being aware of your surroundings and who you allow to be in your circle.
Well, I'm sure you did things to protect yourself when you were an NFL player from people that might be looking to jump onto
the bad influence, basically.
And you never know who that is, so you have to just be really vigilant about making sure that you're as open and transparent as you possibly can be, and you avoid situations when you can. Yeah. Like if I'm bringing people to women to a private place with just me and that person and no other possible witnesses around, man, you're opening yourself up to just about anything, and that's not a safe situation. It's just not.
Yeah, I mean, within my job, I never close a door.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the door is always open, whether it's the same sex or the opposite sex, just to try to say, okay, we're safe here. But,
Well, on a lighter note, let's talk about this weight loss challenge.
Yeah, so I'm down almost 18. I lost another almost 3 pounds last week, and real good news is I've been dropping body fat.
Yeah.
So I've dropped another 3.5% body fat. The Peloton is my best friend.
Yeah.
I had my best ride, and I understand that you become more familiar with it.
Did you saddle up?
The Peloton is great.
Yeah, you sat on it?
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. It looks great. The Peloton looks great. Yeah. Can't wait to finally get on that bad boy and try it. I mean, I've only owned it for a month now.
Still healing up still?
Yeah, it's still I got a little bit of a residual cough, and my lung space isn't completely clear from the COVID.
So. Has your wife done it yet?
Oh yeah, she's been pretty vigilant on it.
Okay, so she had COVID too, if I remember correctly.
Yes, yeah, she's already back.
She had a weaker version of COVID. Okay. She had COVID-18. I had the full blown COVID-19.
Yeah.
And
here's the issue though.
Yeah.
I mean, I ran into Mark over the weekend.
Here we go.
We had our families there, and I see his daughter playing on the playground with my daughter, and where's Mark? I turn around, they're sitting at the table. I walk up, and he has what I think you could call a pizza. I think. Look about like maybe 6 pounds of cheese on it.
Well, it did come from a food truck,
right?
so pizza's questionable.
Well, I mean, that was your choice.
It was actually the kids' choice.
Well, you were eating it, not the kids. They were playing.
It was also their choice not to eat it all.
The kids were burning calories. You were taking them in. And he offered me a slice, which I thought was, a little messed up to do. He seen, and he said, hey, man, you're
still
good.
recovering from COVID. He's trying to get you sick.
I knew you were going to bring this up, and I figured, well, if you're going to sink my ship, buddy, I want you to come down here. I want you to come down to the depths with me.
You ever been to a bowling alley and ordered pizza? It's like, the pizza's just leaking off, the cheese is leaking off the slice.
Yeah.
It's all, and then, I said no to the slice. It sounds
delicious.
It was disgusting looking. And then he offered me beer too. I'm like, come on, Mark. I mean, what are you doing to me, man?
He must not have seen the basket of fries on the table too.
Did he offer you a heroin pipe?
He might have. If I stayed around longer. I got out of there pretty quick.
Did he offer you anything to drink?
Yeah, the
Besides
beer.
Water?
No, just beer.
That's all he has, Oh.
It was low carb beer.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, he said the pizza was low carb too.
So
I did.
So we're gonna need everybody to get serious because I don't want to sing this song.
Do we have a final date? Is it before the season, after the season?
Oh no, we
New
just
Year's
said this
Eve,
year.
I think, right?
Yeah, we just said New Year's Eve. Yeah.
Okay.
As long as we
plenty of time.
You guys notice I opted out of the challenge.
No. We still got you down for some weight.
Yeah.
I'm just saying because you know what, we need it.
Working.
I mean, you've lost some weight. I think I'm going to
I
count
think
that.
so too.
I have. I buckled down for a few.
Yes. So how much are you down? Can we ask? Because we need to.
Honestly, I'm probably only down about 20 pounds.
We're going to take that
that's not
20.
bad,
That's
but-
yeah. You're beating me.
But 20 pounds for me, though, it's like spitting. There's another 20.
That's fair.
All right. So now
A lot to give.
you don't know yet. You haven't weighed yet.
No, I did weigh. I haven't weighed in the last 3 days, but so as of 3 days ago, it was an 8.5 total.
Okay, 8.5. So now
No, not 8.5. What am I talking about?
say you were more
15
like,
and a half. Yeah. 15
okay,
and
so
a
we
half.
got 15, 18. That's 33.
20.
We're
That's
taking
53.
53, and we're taking 7.
Yeah.
60.
You know, that's
Not bad.
That's not bad. That's a good start.
There's a lot of meat.
We have 1/3 of Harry Styles lost.
Yeah.
So
I refuse
we
to
could
believe
do-
he weighs that much. He looks like he's only $120. I think we're halfway there.
Well, we can't change the rules. of
he
engagement,
claims that he's 154.
154 is pretty light.
Yeah, he's pretty light.
It's amazing that you still know exactly how much he weighs.
Well, he's obsessed.
I have a
with the
goal,
guy.
man. I have a goal. I don't want to sing the song. So, all right. Well, so let's talk about today. Today we're going to be continuing our free agency episodes, and we're going to be doing the AFC North. So we're going to talk about Cleveland, America's team, as it's also known. Yeah, so there we go.
Sweet.
I'll back at you, buddy.
You've got a dirty horse.
Right back at you. So, and we're going to talk about Baltimore.
Yeah.
We got the Steelers, and then we have Cincinnati.
The Bungles.
Yeah, which we're going to see how good Mark is because I don't think he did a lot of pre-work before this. I think he thought it was a different.
Dude, I thought we were on a different division, but that's what I apologize for being buried in my phone when we just opened this. I had to quick refer to some notes.
Okay, so I'll start with the Browns. And so the Browns didn't do a lot on offense other than they re-signed 2 of their wide receivers, Rashard Higgins, who is a fan favorite but really is a third receiver at best, and then JoJo Natson.
I love that name.
Yeah, I do too. Other than that, all of their signings were defense, which is what the Browns needed because last year they really couldn't stop anybody. So you can extrapolate out and say, well, the Browns' offense will be put in better positions because the defense, may get to field position or may get a fumble, interception. Mm-hmm. But their big signing was John Johnson III, who I do think was the best safety on the market.
Yeah, it was a huge signing for them.
Yeah, and it's exactly the kind of player that they needed. He is very versatile. And what I love about him is that he was what they call the green dot for the Rams, for the number 1 defense in the league. He was the guy that basically was the quarterback. He was calling the plays. And I love when you get that kind of knowledge base. But that's really it. They signed Troy Hill, Anthony Walker, Malik Jackson, all on the line. They're still looking for their big edge. They signed Tack McKinley, who is good, had a great first year, and then since that time, in fact, I didn't know this, but as I was studying it, Trey Henderson from New Orleans was kind of the edge rusher everybody wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Him and Tack McKinley came out the exact same year in the draft. And except for taking out last year, Tack McKinley has better stats every year than Henderson.
Oh, wow.
So,
And Hendrickson was the one that he was coveted. He was the coveted
Right.
prize.
Yeah.
Right.
Who signed with the Bengals.
So maybe we got something that's an underplayed value here. So
Maybe.
we'll see. But other than that, that was pretty much their main moves. And so I got to ask you guys, if you're drafting on your fantasy team 3 Browns offensive players, who would they be? And we can talk about dynasty or just a redraft, but who do you want to own that's on the Browns?
I would probably go Chubb. I think it's pretty easy. I'd probably still go Kareem Hunt, and I'd probably go Odell for the upside over Landry.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you're seeing too. They're usually the 3 first rounds off the board. I mean, let's face it, the Browns didn't have to go out in free agency and make a huge offensive splash. That backfield is one of the best backfield tandems in the league, hands down. Their problem was just staying healthy at the end of the year. You know, they had Odell go down, then they had that huge COVID scare going into the playoffs where they were playing 3 tight end sets through that entire game, which was just insane. So I'm agreeing with Phil 100%. You know, you're going Chubb and Hunt without a doubt out of the backfield. You're going Chubb's going to get his carries, Chubb's going to get his yards, Chubb's going to get his touchdowns. Plain and simple. Hunt is a huge part of that passing game, and he proved that he can also run between the tackles like he did in Kansas City before he signed in Cleveland. So Hunt is routinely the first RB2 on a team to come off the board in fantasy, and he comes off the board higher than a lot of RB1s on other teams.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Because just the volume. I mean, he's gonna get anywhere from 80 to 100 plus targets in that offense.
And he has the
plus,
touchdown upside
yeah,
too.
plus a ton of carries. And then if you always hope Odell after injury or after whatever takes him out of the league that he comes back the Odell he was before, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, he's out of all their wide receivers, he's the most dynamic playmaker that can shift or change a game completely.
Yeah.
And where you can get Odell in drafts right now, Odell's the one to get because he's way down the board. You're finding him in the redraft leagues, best ball leagues. You're finding him, round 11, round 12. That's exactly where you want to start taking, your high end flyers for wide receiver depth.
And I'd rather take the risk on him than any of the other.
I think he's got
the
more
floor
upside,
of Landry.
like you said.
Yeah.
How about you?
No question about it. You got to stick with the running backs. I think both of them, great points already made. With Odell, it's kind of a wait and see. But if I had to pick someone else today, then I'm actually going to go with Baker because he's kind of a hot and cold player, and right now he's hot. And when he's hot, he's really good.
Yeah.
So you and I have the exact same 3 because I think if you can get Odell in a later round or in a round where all the number 1s are gone, oh yeah, take them.
Right.
But if I had to, I like Hunt, I like Chubb, and I think Mayfield toward the end of the last season showed what he could be.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't put him in the top 5 quarterbacks, but I think he's right under that. He's that next rung. And in particular, toward the end of the year, he showed a ability to run, not a lot, but enough to get a few points and actually ran in several touchdowns.
Yeah, well, he's a very mobile guy. I mean, he's pretty sneaky fast. But the problem, like Anton said, the one problem with him is he is streaky. When he's cold, dude, he's cold.
Yeah.
I mean, he's putting up absolute stinkers.
Yeah.
I mean, he's tossing 3 picks and no touchdowns.
Well, and Cleveland is a weather stadium too. So, like last year, he had a 3-game stretch where Deshaun couldn't do anything in Cleveland because
I remember that.
Yeah. So
the better the running backs do, the more focus becomes on the running game.
Yeah.
And so it forces these coordinators to look for other options, other ways to get the ball downfield, and they do want to push the ball downfield.
If you guys were going to take a tight end on the Browns, who would it be? You still have 3, right? We talked about Bryant.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about
Hooper
and then Njoku. Yeah.
I'd probably take Bryant.
For upside.
I'm going Hooper there. I think they're going to incorporate Hooper a lot more this year. It was his first year last year with Cleveland, and he was an often targeted tight end out in Atlanta. And I think Cleveland is going to open the year throwing the ball a lot more. That way their backfield is more dependable at the end of the season.
Exactly.
So I think that I like Hooper there. I think Njoku's still going to sign somewhere else. They didn't re-sign him, right?
No, they did. They picked up his
they did.
5th-year option, so they're tied to him for $6 million. But I think the first injury to a tight end and I think the Browns will trade.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
That makes sense.
All right, so we're going to go on to actually, we're not. We're going to stop because we're at a minute.
Okay, you're supposed to just rub the elf there.
I forgot what I was supposed to do. So
abort mission. Right. Abort mission.
All right, so we're going to go to the next team, and I think, Phil, you're going to take the Baltimore Ravens.
Baltimore Ravens. And I think we talked about them a few weeks ago. I remember speaking about them and saying, they're a team that's in a win-now mode. And they need a wide out, but they're a running team. So most of their moves were defensive. They kind of stocked up on defensive ends. They signed 2, brought in 2 linebackers. They brought in Derek Wolfe, was one of those defensive players they brought in, and I think they re-signed one of their own. But the only move they really made that was of note, to me at least, for fantasy was signing Sammy Watkins. And it's an interesting signing because it's a guy that, we all know the injury history. He hasn't played a full season since his rookie year. Yardage has gone down. Catches have gone down every year. In a great offense, and is that, a byproduct of Kansas City having too many weapons? Maybe. Is he just trending downward? I don't know. But he'll probably slide in at the number 2 wide out, I'm imagining, behind Brown. And then maybe he'll have a little bit of resurgence, but he's a great route runner. And first-round talent. He still has the close to top-end speed, and maybe the change of scenery will help out. I think what's really going to be interesting is to see what Jackson could do with, multiple legit targets on the field. And we know he had, a pretty decent tight end, and Brown, who's a little inconsistent, but, hopefully Watkins could be similar to what he was in his first 2 years and give him something, something that'll boost Jackson back into where he was coming into drafts last year. And maybe you give a little bump to Watkins where you could consider him as a flex.
Yeah, and I think Watkins is crazy to me. I place Watkins. There's like a group of people that I always view him as, and that's Brandon Cooks, Percy Harvins, like that dynamic playmaker that you just never know. Is this guy going to stay healthy the whole season? Because if they do, they're going to catch a lot of balls and they're going to score a lot of touchdowns just because they're that dynamic. And I think if Sammy can stay on the field and Sammy can stay healthy, I don't know that Lamar's ever actually had like a real trustworthy veteran wide receiver. Marquise Brown, this is season 3 now. The knock on him has been that he's not been a great route runner, and he's a speed demon.
Yeah.
So he'll get down the field. Lamar launches the ball downfield, and hopefully Marquise runs under it, which I think has been unfair to Lamar because that makes Lamar look like maybe he's not the most accurate passer. But I tell you what, in the playoffs, man, he made some pretty laser beam tight throws that impressed me, and I thought the same thing. I was like, I don't think he's a pocket passer, man. I think he's a runner. But I mean that signing with Watkins will definitely show you this year what Lamar is going to be,
or what Watkins is,
yeah.
I mean, I remember when it was Watkins' senior season in college. They played the Ohio State Buckeyes, and single-handedly he beat the Buckeyes. He was unstoppable.
Oh, he was unstoppable in college.
And his first year when he came in, he looked pretty darn good, and he had stretches. I mean, last year, first game, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah,
he's capable of so much. He does have injury concerns, but if they can even get a fraction of what he's capable of, I think it's going to make Lamar and Brown just better.
Well, I think it's definitely a year for him to kind of show if he's still going to, this is the last contract he'll get if he doesn't produce. And I think it's going to be interesting to see. What I'm more interested in is, we always talk about change of sceneries, how can it affect the player? So from the horse's mouth, I mean, does it really make that big of a difference?
It makes a huge difference depending on the coordinator, depending on how they want to use you. We don't know the dynamics of the relationships that he already has at the organization. So sometimes that change of scenery. I'll give you the perfect example: Nick Foles.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
It's just being in the right place at the right time or being with the right system. I think it makes a big difference.
Yeah. Well, and I think that Watkins went to Baltimore to reconnect with a previous coordinator that knew how to use him. And I think it was the coordinator in Buffalo his first year.
Yeah.
So there's a certain amount of they understand each other.
And if he's not salivating, then he's his head's out of the game, because coming from an offense like Kansas City where you have no idea how many times you're going to be targeted, that's a team full of weapons, to now you're going to be asked to be the guy. You're going to be the one that's asked to run all the good routes and, allowing Marquise to just do his thing and be the speed demon. So they're going to go to Sammy quite often. I'm curious to see who you taking off that team, Phil. Who are your 3?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's definitely more interesting than the last team we talked about. I mean, it kind of throws stuff up in the air. So I guess if I were picking today, I would probably I would take Jackson.
Yeah, I think you have to take Jackson.
And I am gassing on the tight end's name who I've had in
Mark Andrews.
Mark Andrews. I would take Mark Andrews again.
Yeah.
It was a little touchdown dependent last year, but I take Andrews, and I take the flyer on Watkins. And it's tough because I like Brown too, and he's a playmaker himself, but I'd like to see what Watkins could do with a role like that again.
I would take Dobbins 100%. I think on one of the previous episodes, our rookie episode, I talked about what Dobbins was able to do at the end of last year. I think if it's him and Gus only, I think he's a Chubb kind of guy as far as touchdowns and all that.
Like that.
I do. I like that. You got to take Jackson, although I'm not as high on him as you guys are.
Yep.
I think you have to take him for the volume. And then the third one, I would probably say Andrews, only because I still don't trust Watkins to be healthy a whole year.
That's fair.
I just don't.
One thing I'd say about the Dobbins is that I just expect Harbaugh's MO, they're going to have a third back.
Yeah. And not only that, I think you're going to see Gus Edwards a lot more than you might think right now, too. I read a pretty cool article the other day, and it was highlighting their backfield. And I'm in the same boat as what the article was preaching, and that's, right now Dobbins' ADP is through the roof. Dobbins is going second to third round, albeit, it's early, but Gus Edwards is a fantastic running back. Every time he's gotten an opportunity to showcase his skills, he does. And, I think Gus is going to be mixed in. Like you said, I think there's going to be a third back in play at some point there. So I'm a little hesitant to take Dobbins as one of the three off that team. Lamar's a no-doubter for me. Yeah. Lamar's going to score you at least 5 points on the ground, and more than likely he's scoring upwards just on the ground. So you're right there, you're getting, 5 to 10, 11-point bonus off of Lamar before he even starts throwing the ball, because he's going to run for his yards.
Yeah.
Mark Andrews, I think, is one of the first 4 tight ends off the board. You got to go Mark Andrews. And strictly speaking from a best ball league, because I'm not a huge fan of any of the Baltimore wide receivers. So considering that I'd already have all of my prime receivers in my stable that I'd want to draft, I'm going to take the flyer on Marquise Brown, because I'm hoping I'm getting him real late.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping in best ball leagues he's going to have those occasional games where he's got 2 touchdowns, 175 yards, and on only like 5 catches. You know?
That makes sense. And for anybody that doesn't know, best ball league is basically where you pick your team at the beginning of the year, and you just let the points accumulate. I'm not sure. There's some leagues that they basically pull the best scorers at the position from your roster.
Yeah, so it's usually like 20-man roster, 9-man start, right? So you have quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, tight end. What am I up to? 6. Flex player 7, kicker, defense.
Yeah.
And then you roster 20 players in any style you want, and they play your top scoring starting lineup every week.
Yeah. So whoever scores the most at the running back position, you get accredited those points, and then at the end of the season, they tally it up. So to his point, a guy like Marquise Brown, who's on and off, those all on games are not going to hurt you like they would in a regular league that we play in.
Yeah, and could potentially pick up on a down week for one of your studs that you drafted above him.
Yep.
Now I'm with you on Andrews, but I'm going to stick with Watkins, because sometimes these injuries can be kind of flukes.
Yeah.
And it just misfortune, We like to label guys as injury prone, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
I'm actually more concerned about Jackson, because every year that he's in the league, trust me, everybody's studying him. And he's burned people. He has burned people, and defensive coordinators don't like getting burned. So the more they study him, the more they learn him, the more they pick up the tendencies, they're going to learn how to control him.
Well, the Browns signed free agents to counteract the Baltimore Ravens.
Well, they'd be stupid in that front office if they didn't.
Right.
They're playing them twice a year.
Yeah. Well, and they almost beat them the second game of the year last year. It was an epic game.
Yeah.
And they lost because they couldn't control the 2 tight end set when Baltimore went to that. They could not control that middle of the field, so they bring in Jack Johnson, Troy Hill. So I kind of agree with you. I think people are starting to figure out.
Yeah.
And he hasn't had any luck in the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
but we don't care about that.
No.
As long as he's producing.
Yeah.
He's going to produce. He's going to get his.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? My question is, how long will it last?
That's fair.
Yeah. Well, he's not the biggest guy either.
Right.
Every year he takes hits. RG3 was a rocket the first year.
Right.
Looked phenomenal.
But he had a really bad injury. I think they mismanaged him, letting him play in that playoff game.
And I think his frame wasn't as muscular as Lamar's too. Lamar seems to be a little bit more muscular. It looks like he's able to. Yeah. He can take a little bit more of a pounding, but I mean that dude's the human highlight film. That guy's got moves. I mean, that guy. You talk about cutting on a dime. Holy Christ, that guy can move backwards as fast as most people can forwards.
But do you want your quarterback taking a pounding?
No, you definitely don't. Yeah.
You don't have 2 or 3 of those guys.
Yeah, you're right.
Very
All right,
true.
So let's move on. I'm going to give Anton a chance now. The Steelers were an interesting team in the offseason, and you got the task of talking about their free agencies.
Well, so the Steelers were actually really quiet. The biggest thing they did this year was to re-sign Juju Smith-Schuster. So, yeah, exactly. And everyone else, if you pay attention to the folks that they re-signed, from Cam Sutton to Zach Banner to Chris Worley, these guys are all 1- and 2-year deals. What that tells me is the Steelers are trying to maintain a core, right? But they're not sold on these guys. Because if they were sold on them, then they're locking them up for 4 and 5 years.
Right.
Yep.
So that's a real big concern to me. But for the most part, they were actually very, very quiet. They have important pieces in place. They're still going to have Big Ben. They're going to have Juju. They're going to have their receivers. But they're still waiting, in my opinion, and probably in the draft, they're going to try to pick up linemen. They're going to try to pick up corners to make sure they're solidified around the board.
Yeah, and as you were saying, they signed a lot of people on both sides of the ball line.
Right.
But they did lose. Like Bud Dupree, I think, is a big loss.
Big loss, yeah.
They lost their slot corner. He signed with Cincinnati, Mike Hilton. And that, to me, is troubling, too, because they really controlled the middle.
That's fair, yeah.
So,
especially in that division now.
Yeah, Hilton 4 years, 24.
So who are you taking? Like, if you're looking strictly fantasy numbers, who do you take on the Steelers? Because it was troubling last year for me. I had Claypool and Juju.
Yeah.
And I never knew which one to start.
Well, I'll go. If you,
Nobody ever knows which one to start, honestly.
I think I'd probably go Deontay Johnson is the number 1 guy I'm taking on that offense. Just hoping that he
self-destruct.
Yeah, and hoping that he just continues to progress. Claypool is kind of a toss-up for me. He was hot and cold last year. Probably another good best ball investment. Man, it's tough. And whoever is the starting running back, whoever that is.
It's funny you say that, because I'm thinking in the draft they're going to look to ETN.
I think so too.
So,
well, either him or Najee. And who do you think? Who would you take if you were a coach and you could take either one?
I'm taking Najee.
See, I am too. He's a monster.
For the simple fact that he can take the pounding.
Yeah.
We talked about earlier.
Yeah.
He can take it. We know he's going to be durable. We know he's Bama built, as they like to say. So, I mean, you can't really go wrong with him.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree. I was going to say that I don't know who the running back's going to be.
Yeah.
But I'm taking the Steelers running back.
And I'd say my third would probably be I'm blanking. Juju. Probably Juju. Yeah. Just because, I mean, the numbers he put up last year, especially in the PPR format, I mean, I could bank 97 catches and feel happy about that.
The quietest 97 catches I've ever seen, for real.
If I'm in a dynasty, if I'm playing dynasty fantasy, I'm locking up Claypool, trying to get him signed to a long-term deal, maybe a 3 or 4 year deal.
That's a great point.
I think Juju's gone at the end of next year, either way.
Me too, yeah.
But I think you could have Johnson and Claypool and be okay. So that would be me. I'd be 2 of their wide receivers and their running back. I don't think Big Ben has much left in the tank.
No.
In fact, I was surprised that they ran it back with him.
I think it's just they got so many pieces in place. That's why, like you said, they're giving short-term deals because I think
one more year.
Once Ben is done, they're going to probably tear that thing down and rebuild.
It's funny that you pointed that out, because that was the point I was going to make. Is the Steelers, to me, is that team every year that hinges on whatever Big Ben's going to do. Like, they're the Big Ben button away from blowing that team up and just starting from scratch. So whatever Ben decides is when they decide to tear that team down. Now, I disagree. I'm going, it's one of my top 3. I'm going with Ben. Simple reason. He's in the Fitzmagic portion of his career. He's got 0 Fs to give, and he's got a ton of weapons. The playoffs, the playoffs.
He talked through it.
That was a weird one.
That was a weird one.
It's going to be weird. You guys are old. So.
Yeah. Big Ben put up 38 points in that in that playoff game. I mean, he was just slinging the ball all over the place against Cleveland. Now, granted, that's outside of the realm of fantasy, but I think that's going to roll over to this year. They've re-signed Juju, and the funny thing is, in fantasy drafts, it didn't alter anybody's draft selections. Deontay is still religiously the first wide receiver off the board.
Yeah.
Who would be the second guy I would take in that offense? Chase Claypool and Juju are still going right around the same amount of time. I've actually seen them in consecutive picks a lot.
Wow.
The tight end, I don't like seeing Ebron there. I would like to see them bring in somebody younger and more short-handed. And then again, the running back situation. So I'd go Big Ben. I'd go Deontay. Deontay's my top on that team. And then I think I agree, man. Whoever, oh my God, if they draft Harris or Etienne, forget about it. I mean, I'd take them over Deontay as my favorite on that squad
for sure.
to score.
Exactly.
Anton, you agree with those?
Absolutely, 100%. You got to take. To me, I'm taking Juju. I'm sticking with Big Ben because he's a proven product, and whatever running back they take.
Oh, see, Juju, like you said, quiet 97 receptions.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great receiver. I didn't start him enough last year because I was afraid.
He's still, unfortunately for him, he had, well, maybe not. He got that contract because of it, but he's very successful in his early career with Brown on the other side pulling coverage.
Yeah.
And now he's viewed through that lens where you expect him.
Yeah,
97 catches, a quiet 97. He had a bad year in our eyes. It's only because of what he's done in the past. And, what's surprising is that he didn't have, I mean, maybe it's just what his role is now.
His touchdowns went to Claypool.
But how many did he have last year? I thought he had a decent amount of touchdowns.
Juju,
He had a decent
I think he had a
outshot.
handful. But I'm trying to remember back to the stat that we pulled a few weeks ago. Juju had some crazy stat with those 97 catches. He still only had, I think his average depth of target was
low.
like 4.7 yards. So, I mean, he's catching balls at the line of scrimmage
I mean,
because he's not beating coverage and he's not getting downfield.
He had an 8-yard average, 831 yards off 97 receptions isn't much. He did have 9 touchdowns, but Claypool had like 13, I believe.
Yeah, but I mean, that was a little
multiple
4 in one game.
4 in one game. That was a little skewed.
So I'm making a prediction right now. This is Big Ben's last year.
Yeah, I thought it was last year.
Yeah, and here's the thing: it's like I said about everybody else. When you look at Juju, we're saying this stuff about his production, but it was a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
When you look at the dismantling that America's team did to the Steelers last year in the playoffs, and if you look at
Dallas played the Steelers
after the Browns destroyed the Steelers. You watched Big Ben. He didn't thank anybody. He sat on the bench, and he was literally crying.
Well, he's a little soft anyway.
Yeah, I thought he was done.
And that's a sign of a guy basically saying, "Man, I'm putting everything I got into it, and it's not working."
Yeah.
It's almost like acceptance.
Well, let's go to our last team.
One of the 7 stages of grief.
It's one of the 7 stages.
Let's go to our last team, the Cincinnati Bengals.
The Bungles.
The Bungles.
Mark's prepared. Who did you prepare?
I thought I don't know why I was thinking AFC East, even though I did the Dolphins.
It's the bourbon.
Last week. No, it's not.
I am the smartest man alive!
It's not true, but go ahead.
But, all right. So the Bengals didn't do a whole lot offensively for the purposes of this show and fantasy in free agency. They went out and they had a bunch of huge signings, which we've already talked about defensively. We talked about them going out and getting Hendrickson, which was the most coveted edge prize. They went out, they got Mike Hilton. They got a couple of other guys. Offensively, they still have, I believe Tyler Boyd is still a free agent, has not signed anywhere, essentially leaving all of the targets at this point to go to T. Higgins. Now, T. Higgins, to me, was a very underrated receiver last year in the fact that he wasn't coveted in fantasy drafts. You had him coming out of Clemson. He wasn't one of the first picks off the board in the NFL draft, and because of that, you had a rookie quarterback in Cincinnati. The only guy that was really coming off the board for that team was Joe Mixon. And then Mixon goes and gets injured, and then that's just a fantasy debacle that team was. And then the emergence of T. Higgins out of nowhere, and T. Higgins put up a huge fantasy stat rookie year for somebody that you weren't expecting that from. I'm sure he won a lot of people some best ball leagues.
Yep.
with that being said, I think Cincy really does need to focus on bringing in another playmaker to help these guys. I think they're in a prime position to do it early in the draft. I'm hearing that they're torn between Jamar Chase and Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
They say Kyle Pitts is an absolute game changer, the best tight end to come out of college in the last 20 to 30 years.
He'll be the highest drafted tight end in the history of the NFL, from what I'm understanding.
And that's insane. And who actually holds the cards right now in this draft are the Falcons sitting at the 4 spot, because the Falcons don't really have a pressing need that they need to draft in the 4 spot.
Yeah,
so I mean,
and they're probably reaching if they go for a quarterback. The 4th quarterback off the board is a reach.
And not only that, I mean, you got Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's going to be their guy still. He's still fairly young. He'll still be their guy for the next few years.
Yeah, but I'm talking about it. You go Trevor, you go Wilson, you go Fields.
Well, I'm seeing
the next
Lance.
one is Lane.
I'm seeing
Lance.
I'm seeing Mac Jones now at 3 to San Fran.
I think so. What I'm seeing I see Mac Jones going to San Fran, and Fields and Lance will be. I think if you get Mac Jones or Justin Fields at 4, I mean that's great.
If you do, I believe Mac Jones is a smokescreen. I think they're going Justin Fields.
I don't see.
What
Mac
are they
Jones
smoking?
being the guy.
What's the smokescreen?
I don't
for?
either.
I think that they're afraid. They're afraid somehow that the Jets might actually go toward Fields, and I think that they're just trying to throw them off.
I don't know. I mean, that's possible, but
I
think Mac Jones fits his offense. I mean,
Mac Jones is going to be a very, very good backup quarterback.
I don't.
Right.
I know I agreed with you last week, but I watched some of his tape. I watched his pro day. I don't know,
He's
man.
sitting behind that line. You can't underestimate the Alabama line. You just can't. I mean, he had total games. The only game where he felt pressure was Florida.
Okay.
Every other game, he had 5 seconds or greater.
So what if they protect him in the NFL?
It doesn't happen. In the NFL, it's 3 seconds if you're lucky. Yeah. If you're a superior line.
But that San Francisco offense is built on timing. It's very short, intermediate routes. Yeah, so I think that's...
Yeah, but if you're drafting at 3, you're drafting at the best possible quarterback. To me, Fields has so much more upside than Mac. I'm not saying Mac's bad.
Fields might be more of a project than Jones is.
Maybe.
He probably has a higher ceiling, but San Francisco has a roster.
To be quite honest, I think they're both projects.
Yeah.
I think Mac Jones is the 5th quarterback or maybe 6th off the board.
Because, I mean, think about this.
What do you think of Fields?
Justin Fields? He would be number 1, except you cannot pass up Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Mac Jones, think about the other quarterbacks that have come out from like really dynamic offensive lines. They're so used to sitting back there because they got all the time in the world, and that's such a tough transition for them in the NFL because they think they're going to get all the time in the world. But guess what, dude? Everybody on defense is just as fast as all your offensive skill players. Good luck. You're gonna need to get the ball out.
Yeah, 2.5 seconds.
Yeah.
So who do you? Let's make a bet, huh?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Let's make a bet for some shots here.
Let's do that. We got to start incorporating this wheel out again. Yeah. We should keep a running tally of all of our bets.
I think what we're gonna do.
Wait. Before we get into this though, should we finish up the Bengals or no? Does nobody care?
Let's do. And then we'll close it. Let's do. I'll tell you my 3.
They're this other team in Ohio that also stinks.
Your 3 what?
My 3,
yeah.
My 3 Bengals.
I didn't tell you mine either. But
T. Higgins.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon, I think he's going to rebound. Joe Mixon is a tremendous running back.
And they just let go of Giovanni.
Yes.
So they're basically saying, Joe, you're a 3-down guy.
And then I would go Pitts if they select Pitts or whatever receiver they select.
Yeah.
Because to me, not signing Boyd, who's been a really good number 2, means they're going a receiver in the draft.
I think they still go Pitts, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, I consider Pitts as a receiver. Yeah. He's a tight end, but so. How about you guys?
Did anybody else go?
No, God. We'll go around.
So I think I'll go T. Higgins as well. I'll probably go Mixon as well, and basically the same thing you said. Whoever they take, I love Jamar Chase. I'm hoping somehow, some way he falls to the Giants. I think I would love to see him on the field with Galladay. I think he has everything. He's physical. He goes and gets the ball. He comes back to the ball. He high points it. I just think the guy is going to be the best receiver out of this draft.
LSU puts out some really short-handed.
Do you know where the Giants went wrong? I was looking back over a previous draft, and as much as I like Saquon,
I could point out a lot.
As much as I like Saquon Barkley, if they had chose Josh Allen that draft, because a running back is replaceable. Even
fair.
somebody as good as Saquon. Because I was thinking about that. I was looking at the draft and saying, my gosh, if they had chosen Josh Allen,
That's fair. But the thing is, you can say that for the Jets. You can say that for the Browns probably too. Cause
yes.
I mean, I think everybody that passed on Josh Allen is kicking themselves right now. But let's be fair. It's the NFL. Let's see what Josh Allen does this year as well.
Yeah.
Because we've seen guys fall off a cliff too.
Yep. Okay. How about you guys for the Bengals?
Who are you taking in? Huh?
I'm taking T. Higgins, Mixon, and I'm hoping that they draft Pitts.
Yeah.
That's a scary combo.
You were bringing out Tennessee guys.
It slipped a little bit. That's okay. But so here's the thing about T. Higgins, right? So in my opinion, his senior year, he took an agent senior year. His agent basically told him, don't get hurt. The kid did not produce, and you saw the kid avoiding piles, avoiding tackles, avoiding hits.
Yep.
That's what happened there. So, but you pair him up with Pitts. That's a scary combination because now you have a receiver that can roll in, a tight end that can roll into the slot.
You got a quarterback, a tight end, and a receiver for basically 5 years together.
Yeah.
Right.
Now who's protecting them? I don't know because their line sucks, but
that's true.
So I'm going Mixon off the board. I've actually been scoring Mixon at such an incredible ADP right now. Late second, early third, so I don't even have to spend my first or second pick. He's starting to go a little bit higher now, like mid-second round, so it's getting a little bit different. But I've got some monster teams right now where Mixon's my third running back, and I think with Giovanni completely out of the picture, 3 downs, Mixon stays healthy. Mixon has a huge year. I'm going T. Higgins, the production from the rookie year with a rookie quarterback, and then also just plug and plays. I think T. Higgins proved that he deserves to be there. I'm pumping the brakes a little bit on Pitts. I love Pitts, but here's why. There are a couple of teams right now that are targeting Pitts and going to transition him to a wide receiver, so he won't be eligible at the tight end position in fantasy leagues. Yeah. Tight end position, you're getting a steal with Pitts.
Yeah.
Wide receiver position, you're getting somebody that might be right there in the T. Higgins range that T. Higgins was in last year.
Okay.
So I might pump the brakes a little bit there, which would lead me to, if they draft Jamar Chase, Jamar Chase is coming off the board for me. If not, then Joe Burrow. I mean, Joe Burrow, I think he comes back healthy. He's got a ton of weapons. I think Joe Burrow would be a worthy pick. You are a bastard.
I just think you can't pick him with the injury concerns. I would not even take a flyer on him personally.
Yeah, I think as your QB2, I think you're happy to have him now as your backup. So if you draft like Lamar, up high, or
I'll just take Matt Ryan.
If anybody has the guts to take Baker up high,
no, but maybe him.
I'm not sure I put Pitts as a receiver because at tight end there's no matchups.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I think incredible matchups.
Yeah, that's where he's great.
And he might be a little bit cheaper as a tight end than a receiver.
Oh yeah. Well, Jimmy Graham was famously, he said, "Pay me like when they went to franchise tag him in New Orleans." He said, "Pay me like a wide receiver. I produce like a wide receiver." Like, there's a reason why we have you listed at tight end, buddy.
Exactly.
That's fair.
All right, so I think to close this show, we're gonna rank our. How do we think?
So wait, first
we can't forget about the bets.
No, that's
what we're talking about.
So are we going after the first year?
Well, what are we talking?
Are we talking career?
Well, see, to me, the Mac Jones thing is he has to go. I'm willing to bet if he's going to San Francisco. If he goes somewhere else, I mean,
Wait, did you just say a career-long bet? How long? The
viewers
won't be totally disinterested.
Okay, so let's go end of the first year with what we know right now.
Yeah.
Name your order of the quarterbacks, how good they are.
Order of the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Okay.
How good they are or where they get drafted?
How good they are. And end of the first year, how good are they?
So are we are we strictly going for fantasy football points?
Yes.
So fantasy
that's
football,
what we're doing?
Yeah.
Fantasy football points in a PPR league.
Yes.
Boom. Done.
Yeah.
Is the quarterback going to catch the ball?
Well, no, but
they can, it gives more points to running and so forth. So, Mark,
I guess it doesn't really
first?
matter for quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Well, it does only in running.
What do you mean?
Well, no, running wouldn't. No,
Yeah, so
PPR points per reception. So,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, please, Rocky. Duh.
There it is. Hit it.
I am the smartest man alive!
Go ahead, Mark. What do you got? And do the top 5, maybe.
Top 5.
Yeah.
This is tough.
If you know that many.
This is tough. Well, you're going Trevor Lawrence because he's going to be the guy. He's going to start all 16 games, 17 games now, whatever,
17.
however many they're playing, 17.
That's right, the 6-11 Bears.
Which will be better than the
No.
2-15 Giants.
So unprofessional.
I thought mine was.
That's your phone a friend. That's so
I
that
thought
you
you
can
were
get your
connected to
Calling
the
in the lifeline.
Did you disconnect to the book?
No, you must have reconnected.
Oh, or maybe we're both connected. All right, so you got Lawrence.
All right, give me Lawrence.
This shouldn't be like
I don't like the sound of that.
Yeah.
It's both being connected. Well,
Give
go
me
ahead.
Lawrence first. Give me Fields second, because I think if Fields gets on the field, just his dynamic playability, I think he'll be right there. I'll go Wilson third. I'll go. Now I think it's a crapshoot, man. I think everyone else. If
Make a decision, Mark. It's a show. It's a show.
All right. Let's do
Just a shot.
Jones, and then Lance.
All right, who wants to go next?
I'll go next. I'll go Trevor. I'll go Wilson. I'll go Jones. I'll go Fields, and then Lance.
Wow.
Wow.
I thought I was off the reservation.
All right, so Anton, you want to go?
Phil likes to drink in these games.
I got Fields.
Okay.
Then I got Wilson.
So you like Wilson?
Then I have Lawrence.
Oh.
Then I have Webb, Davis Webb.
I like.
And then
Webb.
I have Mac Jones.
All right. So
You shook it up, though. That's good.
It's calling it like I see it, man.
I mean, I hope you like to drink nasty shit, but you shook it up.
You had Fields 1, right?
Yeah.
I had him 4. That's pretty crazy.
So I got Lawrence, Fields, Jones, Wilson, Webb. That's. I mean,
There it is.
yeah. I think. I think there's a lot being made of Wilson, and he's got a very small body of work against basically the MAC.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I just think he's going to have the job from day one.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And
You're right.
Patrick
You're
had
right.
Yale, or I mean Princeton.
Yeah.
So he had the Ivy League.
Yes. Yeah. That's why I have him fifth, though.
Yeah.
You know. All right. So I guess like we got to talk about how they can find us, Phil. Since you're our editor, will you talk about?
Yeah, we're on Instagram, Ultimate Fantasy Locker Room. We're also, are we on Twitter? We're not on Twitter right now, but we are on TikTok, Ultimate Fantasy Locker Room. You can see Mark and me and Rocky and
Anton
making a fool of ourselves.
Yeah, for sure.
Looking terrible. And then you could also find us on YouTube, which is where we would prefer you to find us, at the Ultimate Fantasy Locker Room. Like and subscribe.
Subscribe.
Leave a comment. If you hate us, if you like us, I don't care what you say. Say something. Let us know. We'll
But
try to reply.
Make sure you subscribe first before you tell us that you hate us. Create a couple of separate accounts too. Subscribe a few times under a few different aliases.
Yeah.
We can take all the subs we can get.
We do get paid by watch hour, so continue to just hit watch.
Put us on
Just
loop
leave it
on
on.
every TV in your house.
Just press play when you go to sleep.
Yeah, that's what I do. So, hey, thanks guys. Good seeing you, Anton.
Yep.
All right,
Good
Anton.
to see you guys.